Hey, I'm Liz, a nonverbal content creator who keeps repeating that fact in every video intro because I want to be transparent that I use tools to voice my videos. But at this point, I've said it so many times, it's starting to feel a little weird. Still, if you're new here, now you know. Anyway, welcome to my little building corner. Today's project is a request. One of my lovely subscribers asked me to build a greenhouse. So of course, I had to make it the softest, most romantic thing ever. White walls, pink roses. Let's start. I started late at night, secretly placing a few planting areas so I could build the greenhouse around them in daylight. If I place the planting zones first, I know the greenhouse will be the right size. Doing it the other way around usually ends in chaos. Things just don't fit. It could have been more rectangular, and I could have fit in a few extra plots, but I ran out of time. Still, imagine if I'd made it bigger, with trees planted inside, growing through those cute round holes in the roof. That's the dream version. Once the planting spots were down, I walked around the area using curved fence posts to mark the shape. Sadly, we don't have glass walls, so my greenhouse is really more of a wooden house pretending to be fancy. But that's fine. We'll make it work. Behind the greenhouse, I want to add a big summer flower pavilion, so Nikki has a spot to rest after all that exhausting farming. Before that, though, I'm placing the narrower, curved fenced narrow posts, so I'll know exactly where the pavilion goes. Now we've got a nice little hole to fit the pavilion in. I'll paint everything white because we're going full romantic here. But if your version of romance is dark and moody, keep the fences brown, add red flowers instead of pink, if we even have any. I should check if something can be dyed red. Right now, the greenhouse looks a bit empty, so I'm adding some splendid trellises between the fence posts. You don't have to if you like a more open look, but I love them. I really should craft more. They're so cute. Next, I'll make a tiny sitting area using the splendid flower pavilion. You know, for when Nikki doesn't want to go indoors but still needs a break from her hard work. For the entrance, I'll add a wooden arched fence that matches the curve of the fence. Not technically a door, but it feels right. On the other side, I'll make some space for Nikki's flower cutting corner. Maybe where she sells bouquets or something. I don't know, put whatever you want there. Maybe a table for future cooking sessions when that feature finally arrives. I already love how it's turning out. I'll probably build an extra large version later, big enough to fit every single planting zone, but not this week. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe. I'll be pulling the new season banner soon, buying all the store sets, and making showcases for everything. If you ever doubt whether something's worth your stellarite, diamonds, or crystals, I'll show you exactly what you're getting. Nothing worse than spending your resources and regretting it later. Refunds basically don't exist. Around the greenhouse, I'm building a terrace area using foundation blocks. One version has an edge, one doesn't. Pick whichever suits your vibe. I like having the little border, so I'm adding those. If you want them to sit lower into the ground, make sure your settings match mine, otherwise it won't work. Now I will do some decorating. For the roof, I'm using the same trellis items, just rotated sideways and placed next to each other. It's a bit tricky and requires a lot of toggling between settings. The single movement distance gives way too much freedom, but it's the only way to make the pieces line up. If you have a better trick for this, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to build without sacrificing half my brain cells. Maybe it's easier on PC. With a mouse, you can place things much more precisely than with a PlayStation controller. My big pavilion next to the greenhouse feels a little empty, so I'm adding rose bushes. Not sure if that was a good idea. Maybe they'd look better spiraling around the pavilion, but then I'd have to resize them smaller, and that's a pain to do with a controller. Maybe I try that next time. I'm extending the terrace around the greenhouse to make this whole area more practical for people who grow both fish and plants, so everything's in one place. My star-shaped pond looks cute, but fishing there takes longer since the fish like to hide under the flowers. Momo struggles a bit. So if you prefer efficiency over aesthetics, this layout works better. Adding some hanging lamps now. They don't light up anything, but they swing nicely, so that's something. I'm adding a few more flowers in the cut flowers section. If Nikki ever becomes a florist, this will be perfect. I kind of wish we had an ability to craft our own bouquets and place them in vases. Greenhouse is tiny and there's not much space for larger planting zones, so I'm hiding them inside the ponds. You can still grow trees there and they won't clutter the space. Adding a few more foundation blocks to finish up the terrace, and a small hedge border just for privacy. And that's the finished greenhouse. I'm quite happy with it. The flowers look lovely, it feels calm, and, surprisingly, it didn't eat up too much load. That's a win because we all know how fast that runs out. The biggest load hogs are always the big interactive props. So if you use fewer of those, you can build a ton of smaller areas and parks. Let me know what you think. Should I make bigger version or leave it as it is? I can only share the EU server code, but here it is if you want to try it yourself. Thanks so much for hanging out in Whimsy Haven. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It really means a lot. See you in the next one.